Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome to Robbie Rants Live. This is the second part of the Robbie Rants Live for tonight because I had to take a bathroom break. But we are back and we're going to be continuing our talk about pop culture, comic books, movies, and all that jazz and more. Just kick the table. What's up, guys? Thank you for coming back. Once you're back, let me know that you're here so I know who's here. We can continue our conversation. So, I got some toys over here in case I need to fill some time. I got some toys that I can show you. So this one was on the wall at the original studio. Or not the original studio, but the studio that we just recently had. This is an Aquaman figure from Brave and the Bold. Aquaman is one of my favorite characters, especially over at DC. So it's definitely a character. When I see an action figure of it, I feel like I have to buy it. I love the Brave and the Bold Aquaman. He's a big braggart. He's very funny. It's very humorous. So when that action figure came up, I had to get it. Got it super cheap, and there it is, Brave and Bold. Do you guys like Brave and the Bold? I thought it was super cool. Another thing you may notice if you check out our show and have been a fan for a while, is I got a lot of Darth Maul action figures. Huge Darth Maul fan. He's one of my favorite characters from the Star Wars movies. Love this character so much, so I have a lot of Darth Maul action figures. Because I think he's just a super badass character that was killed way too soon. So once you guys get back in, let me know that you're here. I want to know that you're back. Who's all here? Who stayed from the last one? I really appreciate it. As you can see back there, I got a lot of on-card action figures here to talk about if I need to. So we can do that. Any of you guys out there right now excited about the Batwoman TV show? I don't know much about Ruby Ross, but I'm kind of excited about it. I like that character enough. All right, Armin. It seems like we don't have too many people in here right now, so we should talk about the Invisibles. First, I'm going to show off one of my newest Toy Biz toys on card. Is I finally got this one. I've actually never owned this figure. I wanted it back in the day, but the only Age of Apocalypse figure I actually bought back in the day was Magneto. This Weapon X figure is crazy. It's just ridiculous. Look at that. Look at that face on him. It's just nuts, man. So nuts. He's got all these different little attachments to put on his hand. But Age of Apocalypse, that was a big deal. You guys remember that? Kind of. I loved when they did this toy line. If you look on the back right there, it's not really wanting to focus too well on it. Maybe if I did right there. Sorry, guys. It's not going to focus on that. But there's a Gambit, Sabretooth, Weapon X, Apocalypse, Magneto, and Cyclops. I had the Magneto. I don't anymore. That Magneto was badass. And the Apocalypse is badass. The other figures are all right. But the Weapon X, I don't know. I figured, like, why not? I got it cheap enough in package. Let's get it. Welcome back, guys. How you doing? Super excited that I have that. Whatever. Let's talk about the Invisibles. The Invisibles changed my life too, buddy. It really, really did. When I first read it, I started reading the Invisibles as it was actually wrapping up towards the end of, like, the 2000, 2001 era, somewhere around there. So I went back and I started getting the trades and started reading it. I did not get what that book was about at all. I thought the book was really crazy. It's very confusing. It was really enticing at first, but the ending was very confusing. And I just didn't really get it. And I kept reading it over and over again. I never really quite got it. But one day, my natural just thinking and thought process and research and things like that led to some occult ideas, right? And I wound up watching this lecture that Grant Morrison did at DisinfoCon one year. And it's pretty easy to find. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. Just type in Grant Morrison DisinfoCon. And it's part of like a website or a blog or something called Disinformation. It's a Discordian, like chaos magic type thing. So Grant Morrison apparently is a self-professed chaos magician. So, by the way, is Alan Moore. So apparently there's this thing that's in magic, especially chaos magic, called a sigil. And a sigil would basically be like what something like a corporate logo could be, like McDonald's or something. It's basically the idea that there's an idea or an expression of will or desire that's encapsulated perfectly into a symbol, right? And Morrison made what he called a hyper sigil. So basically, the Invisibles is this entire work of magic that Grant Morrison did to alter reality in his own life, right? So watch that lecture, and then reread the Invisibles, and then you start understanding it. And then the more that I had studies that led into the ideas of the occult, it sounds so silly to me to call it the occult or whatever, but just these ideas of mental strategies, right? But Golden Dawn type stuff, the work of Aleister Crowley, Austin Spare, people like that. There's more Dion Fortune, Israel Regarde. I'm reading some of their stuff and thinking about that, and then just reading more about Grant Morrison and his thoughts on magic, as in magic with a K. That's what Invisibles is about. Invisibles is something that he did to change reality for the positive, right? And I think more people should read it. But Invisibles is awesome, and it's the story that inspired the hell out of The Matrix. The Matrix is pretty much almost like 65 to 70% based on the Invisibles, right? It's influenced a lot of pop culture. It was very, very much ahead of its time. I think it still might be considered ahead of its time. But it's check out that thing. Basically, the character of King Mob is Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison wrote himself into the comic book because one of the ideas of chaos magic is that we create our own stories, and your story that you tell yourself becomes your reality. That's one of the ideas of magic with a K, right? And so Grant Morrison wanted to take that to an extreme. What if I actually literally created a story and put myself in it? And he claims that, for instance, when King Mob goes through near-death experiences in that book, so did he, and he almost died. And he wound up on his hospital bed, and he claims he had this vision. And in this vision, he saw a Christ-like figure that said these words to him. I don't know the exact quote right now, but it's one of my favorite quotes I've ever read. It's just incredibly comforting to me for some reason. But he put that in the book, The Invisibles, and he wrote his recovery into The Invisibles while he was sick, and he got better. And then from that point on, if you notice, when you read Invisibles, after King Mob almost dies, like he's got it pretty much easy going from that point forward. And that's because Grant Morrison believes he was affecting reality with his actual book. And the whole thing is supposedly a hypersigil to get those who read to understand how to elevate society and the world to the next level of existence. And doesn't that seem really deep for a comic book? Isn't that crazy? But yeah, that's in a nutshell a type of gist about the Invisibles and why I think it's such a seminal work of art, because I believe I believe a lot of what Grant Morrison says. I don't believe some of what Grant Morrison says, but I believe a lot of what Grant Morrison says. And I dig it. I think it's pretty cool. Absolutely. So if you've read The Invisibles, or if you haven't, but now that you know that, I would highly recommend reading The Invisibles knowing that. And so I would recommend that you check out on YouTube or anywhere you can find it, Grant Morrison Disinfocon lecture. Listen to that, watch that. There's also a lecture he did at some school or I think Omega's in the title. I don't know. Anything Grant Morrison says about magic, check it out. Anything Grant Morrison says about the Invisibles, but basically learn that the idea of the Invisibles came from an out-of-body alien abduction. And I'm going to quote that because for sure, Grant Morrison even nowadays doesn't believe it was an actual alien abduction. He thinks it was more something internal. But he had a crazy experience in Kathmandu that led to the Invisibles. And I even forgot to even mention that. But he was on the Kevin Smith Fat Man on Batman podcast, and he talked about it. Check out some of Grant Morrison's ideas about magic and the Invisibles, and then reread the book and keep rereading it and read it with a little bit of study into occult imagery and things like that, because there's a lot of stuff in that book, and it's really layered. It's incredibly layered. Yeah, Nelson, the Invisibles is going to get mad confusing, but you got the history on it just now if you were listening, and if you checked out them lectures, it really illuminate a lot of it. But to be honest with you, you really kind of have to study some of the occult symbolism to really understand that book. And I think the same is with Nameless. Like, Nameless is a study in the tarot. And if you look at Alan Moore, who was also a professed chaos magician, his work on Promethea is an explanation of the Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism that's really highlighted by a lot of ceremonial magicians and Golden Dawn type people and things like that, and even Chaos Mages. So pretty interesting stuff. Top 5 stories and runs that are just as good on the reread. Top 5 favorite rereads. I like that. I like that. Top 5 favorite rereads. Rereading is a big thing. I think if you're a comic book fan, you don't reread, I think you're missing out. I don't think most comic books, your first impression is the truest impression, if that makes sense. So not to talk smack about my own self, but to be honest with you, my weekly comic book review, that's initial reactions, right? So things that are more like the upcoming show Comics Revisited, or my top 5, or even this live stream, things like this is a more true sense of my opinions on books. Because the initial response, I have read comic books and loved them, and movies, watched movies and TV shows and loved them. And then on the rewatch or the reread, I didn't. And it gets worse. Some things get better. I'll tell you this for a fact, Justice League keeps getting better. I haven't done a reread on Gideon Falls. I'm waiting for the end of the first arc. Maybe that already happened. I think 6 is the end of the first arc. I've reread every single issue of Justice League. But yeah, top 5 favorite rereads and rewatches. That's a good one too. That's a good one. Yes, Armin, it's really deep. It's really deep. And my mind is blown every time I read it. And every time you read it, you're going to pick up something new. And that's why I think that book, people that really commit to that book and read it, and we're talking about The Invisibles, people that really read that book and commit to it, they do feel changed in some way, even if they don't understand it. There are films that I feel have this effect. Southland Tales by Richard Kelly and Donnie Darko by Richard Kelly are two movies that I feel have the same type of effect. You don't really have to understand them, but you feel something from it. It changes you inside for some reason. And the more you experience that and reread and rewatch it, the more you're gonna change. I don't know. I feel the same way, and I do believe him as well. And yes, Philip K. Dick is exactly the same. Like, okay, so in this idea of people that like slightly subversive, alternative, counterculture type fiction that involves maybe out-of-body experiences and metaphysicality and all that kind of stuff, there's like a holy trinity to me. And it's Philip K. Dick, Grant Morrison, Robert Anton Wilson. All 3 of them have similar experiences with magic and the occult. And I put in air quotes because I think that's a silly term, but it is what it is. It's basically psychology. It's just stuff like that. What I have learned from it. But it's very deep. Philip K. Dick stuff is just like that. And Robert Anton Wilson is like that with a more of a satirical element to it. But I'm a big fan of Dick. I can't believe I just said that. I'm a big fan of Philip K. Dick's work, and I'm a big fan of Robert Anton Wilson and Grant Morrison. And Robert Anton Wilson also has a Disinfocon lecture from like 2000, I think, or something. It might be the same year that Morrison did his. If you can find that lecture, I would highly recommend that you check that out. Or any lectures or speeches that you get from Anton Wilson. And even Philip K. Dick, like he was very prophetic. And we don't have Philip K. Dick or Robert Anton Wilson anymore, but we definitely still have Grant Morrison. And that's why I want to get more comic book work from him, because I want to know more about his mind. And yeah, he's a philosopher. And to be honest with you, he's one of the most direct reasons as to why this channel and the podcast is called Pop Culture Philosophers. Really starting to understand certain levels, especially after reading his book, Super Gods. Certain levels of Grant Morrison's superhero work really got me to understand the place that superheroes have as modern mythology. And it got me thinking a lot about those ideas and things like that. And that directly influenced this channel, Pop Culture Philosophers. It really, really did. That's right, Maria. Go Yankees. We won today. That's right. We got we're in an easy little bit of our schedule, so we're kind of recovering from that slide that we had. Pretty bad slide. I hated being swept by the Red Sox. Oh my God. I hate that I just reminded myself of that. But yeah, let's get a little bit closer in on this. This is a new addition to the collection, guys. It's my Aaron Judge Pop, Funko Pop. I love Funko Pops. They're so crazy. My comic shop just recently today got a 1-star review on Google because they've just become a Funko Pop store. What? They're popular. Of course we're going to stock them. And seriously, the majority of our store is not Funko Pops. The majority of our store is comic books and the games and stuff like that. But Aaron Judge, Funko Pop. I'm a huge Yankees fan. I'm a huge Yankees fan. You guys know that. If you're a fan of the show, man, I love me some Aaron Judge. He's our new Jeter, I think. He's our new You tell your hubby I said go Yankees because I'm very excited. We're going to hit the postseason this year. I don't know if this is going to be the year, but we're winning a World Series in the next 3 years. We're going to win 2 World Series in the next 5 years. I guarantee it. I'm calling that right now. So if it happens, you know that I called it. Speaking of which, I'm not trying to be a braggart, but oh my goodness, did I not call that Uncanny X-Men thing? Kelly Thompson, Ed Brisson, Matthew Rosenberg. I kept telling you guys that one of those writers was going to be on Uncanny X-Men. Well, I was wrong. It was all 3. That just blew me away. That was crazy. I like when those kind of things happen because then I can be like, look what I said. Look what I said. Other things didn't pan out. We're still waiting on that 3 Jokers thing. Our most popular video, and I'm still waiting to see if it even is going to be worth a damn. I don't know if you guys have seen our 3 Jokers video, but when Rebirth first came out and DC revealed that there were 3 Jokers, I did a video about my theory, which basically in a nutshell, my theory is that the 3 Jokers are survivors from each crisis. That through each crisis, the Joker somehow survives. So it's Golden Age Joker, like Silver Age Joker, and Modern Age Joker. But it definitely seems more like it's Killing Joke, a New 52 Joker, and then the classic Joker. But I'm very excited for 3 Jokers. That's going to be cool. Yeah, Mr. Miracle is a great comic book. It's a fantastic comic book. Have you ever read anything New Gods? That's a question I got to ask you. If not, it might be a little confusing. Get on Wikipedia, check out New Gods. Get on YouTube, type in who are the New Gods. I'm sure someone's done a video about it. I probably should. The New Gods are a great creation by Jack Kirby. One of my favorite comic books ever. Reading Jack Kirby's The New Gods, especially the first half of that series, is like reading the best parts of every religious and spiritual text in existence in human history. That's what it feels like to me. Seriously. So if you're really into Morrison stuff, man, read some Jack Kirby. Talk about archetypes. Seriously. But I would highly recommend reading Mr. Miracle. Get that background first on the New Gods. Just Wikipedia or something like that. Get that background on the New Gods and read it starting with issue number 1. It's phenomenal. And it's a great book that's really about it's about despair, loneliness, sadness, melancholy, wanting to give up. But it's also a big, crazy epic in the New Gods tradition where it's life and death and good versus evil. And it's also a story about a marriage, a very true, grounded story about a marriage. And that's why that book is so exceptional and one of the best books ever. All right, Nelson, you may be a Blue Jays fan. I'm cool with that because we both hate the Red Sox. Cheers to that. Go Blue Jays, though. I like the Blue Jays. Remember back in the early 90s? Atrocious atrocious uniforms and outfits, right? The Super Sky Blue. What a badass team, right? Seriously. That was good stuff. No problem, Armin. I love talking about the Invisibles. I'm sorry it took so long to get to it, man. So many previous live streams we were talking about it, but I never really got to get into it. But it felt like at this moment, it was the time to really get into it. Not a lot of people asking a lot of questions and things like that. So I really appreciate that. Yeah, I bet you got to get to sleep. But dude, thank you so much. That's real, dog. That affects me. Thank you. Have a good one, buddy. Yeah, I would totally recommend then that you check out New Gods. Just either pick up the Jack Kirby stuff and read it, or just read like a Wikipedia summary or a YouTube summary or something like that on the New Gods, and then read Mr. Miracle. I don't think it's essential to know that before, but I think it will really help with some of the crazier elements that are happening in the background. I think it will really benefit you to know who these characters are. But it's a fantastic book. It's one of the best books of the year. It might be the best book of the year. But right now, I'm still saying Gideon Falls. But we'll see. Why is Magic Order and Farmhand not the big ones? What do you mean big ones? Like as far as like biggest books of the year? Well, Magic Order hasn't hit me personally as much. I think it's pretty decent, and I'm eager to see how it all pans out. But it hasn't been really engaging me so much issue to issue. Farmhand has, but it's just 2 issues in. I really got to see where this is going to evolve further. When I did my best of 2017 video, for instance, I didn't really count things like Thanos or even Donny Cates' Doctor Strange or some of the things that happened at the very end. And I didn't even want to count Mr. Miracle too high because it hadn't finished. Part of a good story means a good ending. And so I want to see Farmhand go a little bit further. Obviously, I hope that book doesn't end for a while. But I'm really, really liking Farmhand a lot. 2 issues in, and I am sold, man. Houston Astros fan. Let me tell you something about the Houston Astros, buddy. No offense. No offense at all. I used to be cool with the Houston Astros. You know, I love Nolan Ryan. What baseball fan that grew up in the 90s does not like Nolan Ryan? Grew up in the 80s and the 90s. Who doesn't like Nolan Ryan? Ryland. Oh my God. Ryan. Jesus. But anyway, who doesn't like him, right? So I always had a respect for the Astros because of that. But since you guys have joined the AL and last year's ALCS, as a Yankees fan, I'm getting pretty annoyed with you pesky Astros. And I can't even call you guys pesky anymore because you guys are legit. You guys have one of the best baseball teams, period. Congratulations. Seriously. God. It annoys me how good you guys are right now. That's a compliment and an insult, I guess. I don't know. No offense. Yeah, what is Volition? That's coming out this week. I don't know what that is. It's over my head. I saw it, and I had no idea. Let's talk about the San Diego Padres. Straight up, grew up playing baseball in the late 80s, early 90s. Tony Gwynn, one of my biggest, idols and inspirations. Yeah, dig the Padres because of that. Absolutely. I love it when they do the old school jerseys. I like all of baseball. The Yankees are my number 1. The Braves are my number 2. My number 3 is the Athletics. My number 4 is the White Sox. And my number 5, the Brewers. My number 6 is the Pirates. And that's as far down as I go. Everybody else I'm pretty solid with, but I hate the Red Sox. I'm getting really annoyed with the Astros. For said reasons before. I did go over the books coming out this week, and to be honest, I do not remember what Volition and Crowded are about. I really don't. So I'll check them out, and I'll let you know Tuesday night, late Tuesday night. Since we moved the studio, I no longer have Google Fiber. That's why the videos are later than they usually are on Tuesday nights for the weekly comic book review. By the way, it's a really slow process now to upload. And with our computer problems that we've been having, I'm kind of on a temporary solution right now. And the rendering and importing processes are way slower too. So sorry about that. Luckily, everything else will kind of get done before it releases. Speaking of which, this upcoming Monday, we got a new movie Monday coming out. We're continuing our look at the DC animated films. We'll be talking about Justice League New Frontier based on the Darwin Cook book. Love that book. Love that movie. Spoilers, I love that movie. So look forward to that. And for the duration now until early October, we're going to be doing nothing but DC animated films in the order that they released. So New Frontier, Batman Gotham Knight, Wonder Woman, First Flight. That's what we're doing. And tomorrow morning will be the weekly pop culture wrap-up, where I will be talking about, because I just recorded this video, so I can tell you exactly what I'm talking about. If I find it's still up there. Yeah, but we talk about the new Uncanny X-Men book, written by Thompson, Brisson, and Rosenberg. We talk about the rumor that Greg Rucka may be doing a Lois Lane book for DC Black Label. That's an interesting rumor. And we take a look at Ruby Ross as Batwoman and the fact that Star Trek IV may have just lost both of their Chris's. Pretty big deal. Pretty big development for the Star Trek franchise. I think I've partook too much. Anyway, I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. Kanye Neff, how you doing? And the Orioles are 6 feet tall. My friend just got a new contract with Dallas Cowboys, and I told him they would treat him better. What? The Orioles have had a good team for a good long while, but here lately they don't seem to have it clicking. I am a Cowboys fan, by the way. We did a thing today in the Facebook group PCP Army about who are your football teams, American football, because it's about to happen again. And I'm a big Auburn Tigers fan for college and Dallas Cowboys fan for NFL. Nelson is so badass that he has looked up. I think he has looked up solicitations for these books that are coming out that I didn't know about. Dwayne, I did like Infinity Wars #1. I did. I liked it a lot. Star-Lord is not dead. Spoilers, by the way. Star-Lord is not dead. That's going to happen. There's lots of things going to be going on with reality shifting and changing because of these stones. So don't think that all the deaths that have happened so far will stick. But I like it so far. I really think that Deodato is doing some of the best artwork of his career. I like what Duggan has been doing with Guardians of the Galaxy. This is basically his finale for that. I'm down with it so far. I actually really do like it. And it wasn't something that I cared about. So they really had to like hook me. And Infinity Countdown didn't really hook me. But Infinity Wars Prime and #1 really did hook me. So I'm liking it. So for Volatian, in a not too distant future, artificial intelligence has spawned a race of robots to serve all of humanity. Robots are considered second-class citizens, but a few in the AI community are fighting. Sounds like Descender. Sounds like Magnus. Sounds like some themes that have been going on in a lot of fiction here lately. And we were talking about Philip K. Dick earlier. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And the movie Blade Runner, which I think is one of the best films ever. Top 5 favorite films: Blade Runner 2001. They're in there. Citizen Kane, Dazed and Confused. They're in there. That's definitely my top 4 in no particular order. Oh, it's by Aftershock. Who's writing it? If you got the solicitations of it, who's writing it? I don't think Thanos is dead, Dwayne. I think he's dead right now, but he's coming back. He'll come back. But why are we having so many themes about that right now? About AI being a slave race, right? That's happening a lot in fiction right now. Why is that? What's going on in the world? Thinking that, making us think about that, right? That's something that I think pop culture does. And one of the reasons why we're called pop culture philosophers is to look a little bit deeper into it. So just think about it, right? Why do the same themes keep coming at certain times, in certain cycles? That's an interesting thought experiment to me. You know, Dwayne, I really like the ideas and philosophy behind Relay, but the comic book to me has been rather boring. I really want to like it, but I feel like I'm gonna have to trade weight it. Ryan Parrott is the guy that did Go-Go Power Rangers. Great characterization on that book. And I know I'm a Power Rangers fan, so that's one of the reasons why I feel that way. But Parrott's got great dialogue and good characterization from my experience of him, so I'm definitely going to read that and check it out. It was there a preview for that in Relay #2? I totally didn't read that. I'll check that out then. Let's look at some more toys here. So I'm a real big fan of these Toy Biz toys from Marvel in the 90s, even the DC ones. But there's my Annihilus figure. That was something that used to sit in the old studio next to me during my live streams. I think it's super random because they had already done a Doctor Doom in this line. They did a Fantastic Four line. They had the 4, and then they wanted to pick a villain. I thought it was super random, especially in the early 90s, to pick Annihilus, but I'm glad they did. Because when I got this figure, I had no idea who this character was. And immediately went to the comic shop, and I bought the John Byrne issues with him, and that was my first experience with the John Byrne stuff, and I loved it. Loved it so much. Annihilus is badass. Read Annihilation. That's one of my favorite Annihilus stories. Analog kind of engaged me, but it didn't really sustain that engagement. But I definitely feel like reading that again when it comes out in trade. Well, the idea is Cates and Thompson and Clark And I think that like I haven't really responded too well to some of Zach Thompson's scripts. So I think you're onto something there. Heck yeah. So you guys know I'm a huge Venom fan. And we were talking last week on the live stream about the upcoming Comics Revisited series, and we're going to start with some Venom books. But I'm a big Venom fan, so I got a lot of Venom toys, and this is the first Venom toy to my knowledge. This is the one with the living skin slime pores. It had this like gunk inside of it that proved to be toxic or something. I don't know. But they recalled it, and they put it out with a water shooter. So this is still in package with the gunky, nasty stuff in it. I have one of these open, but without that. And I think I still have open one of the squeegee ones too with the water. But I loved this figure. At one point when I was a kid, I took this figure and it was the water one. I took it and I painted it blue, and I was going to like put blue fuzz on it and make it a beast figure because they hadn't done a beast figure yet, which I now have that, and it's in package just over there. But so I tried to make it my beast figure. It was the worst thing I've ever done. It was so bad. It was just like gunky light blue and dark blue paint with like yarn fuzz on it. It looked so bad, and I ruined my Venom figure. It was terrible. Now, I thought that Venom figure was all right, but it's very much Frankenstein like this with its arm movement, as you can see right there. Yeah. But when they did their second Venom figure, I loved this one. It looked more like the Mark Bagley Venom, more slender, but still big and ripped. And it had the flicking tongue action. And I still feel like I need to get this one out of package so I can flick that tongue. Love this Venom figure. There's some Venom figures right now that are right here that you can see on tomorrow's Pop Culture Wrap-Up. But I love the hell out of those figures. Do you guys like Toy Biz figures from the 90s? Marvel stuff? What's your favorite one? What do you love? Who's my age? Yeah, Annihilation's good stuff. And it really cemented. Annihilation is the reason why we have James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy. Why we have that iteration of the Guardians, right? That's Dan Abnett, Andy Lanning. That's a direct result of Annihilation. Top 3 comics, Dwayne, that I'm reading right now. Gideon Falls, Mr. Miracle, Justice League. Okay, they're pushing the Sideric first appearance and Weird World first appearance like it may come up in the Cosmic Ghost Rider books. You know, it seems like Donny Cates likes to look a lot at some of Jason Aaron's more recent work, or, you know, work from a few years ago, and put a new twist on it, right? So I would expect that. So looking at what Donny Cates, who I think is a very similar writer to Jason Aaron, they are very distinct styles. I think the Donny Cates style is more heavy metal than Aaron is, but they do kind of have similarities in their writing, right? So I would definitely think that anything from Jason Aaron's Marvel run will be important, right? Because of what he did with the Thor book went crazy, because of what he revealed in Venom with the God Butcher's weapon and Null, the symbiote god and all that stuff, symbiote, my bad. And with Juggerduck is going to be a huge deal, I think, when the next issue of Cosmic Ghost Rider comes out. And yeah, he may go back to Weird World. And if what I think happens, and I think that Donny Cates is doing the next Wolverine ongoing series. And if that's not the case, Marvel, if you're listening, Sobalski, do you watch this video? I doubt it. He should, though, because seriously, Donny Cates will be an amazing writer on Wolverine. And if that happened, early Jason Aaron Wolverine stuff would be important, I think. But it seems like Donny Cates is kind of the future of Marvel. Jason Aaron is the super now of Marvel. So Donny Cates is definitely going to reference things that Jason Aaron has done, if not Donny Cates, other writers. So some Jason Aaron work may be something you want to check out right now. And it's going to be the earliest issues that are probably going to be the more hype, right? I'm not guarantee you that Jason Aaron's Wolverine run and Wolverine the X-Men and Weird World or things like that are going to go up. But with how the industry works, Jason Aaron stuff is going to be referenced. And if referencing a previous issue starts making it go up, that's going to happen. So Jason Aaron's work from the last 5 to 6 years or whatever, maybe something worth checking out. Yeah, Dwayne, the new Venom book is amazing. Fantastic stuff. I got this stealth Venom that's like, I didn't even know they did a translucent one until I bought this one. This is a super cool figure. I got the same figure, but this is the actual figure. It's basically the same figure that they did for the Eddie Brock that you could take the mask off of. They did this, and then this is the clear version, translucent. I didn't even know this existed until I bought it, and I'm very glad it exists, and I'm very glad I bought it. I'm such a sucker for 80s and 90s comic book toys, man. I seriously am. That's seriously bad. I do not have the my pet little monster. I used to have one when I was a kid with the chains and everything. I loved it. I loved it so much. If I found one in good condition for a decent price, I'd probably pick it up. And I no longer have the TMNT blimp. In fact, I never had it. Friends of mine had it. And they would always have the problem with the blimp itself, like busting a hole, losing air. Because you used to play with those toys, right? Man, I love that Turtles thing. I was talking in a recent, maybe it was last week's live stream. I don't have the turtle van. And I want to get the turtle van. I was showing off the Batmobile from Superpowers, and man, what a lovely toy. Let's see what Galactus has to say about that. You're right, sir. I got more toys here I can show you. We're going to go for about 10 more minutes, guys. So any final questions? Let's pop them off. Any final suggestions for top 5 topics? You guys have given me some really good ones tonight. So far, this is what I remember, what I wrote down. Top 5 favorite comic book writers, comic book artists, Vertigo comics, DC villains, 90s comics, and rereads and rewatches. How about top 5 favorite Toy Biz toys from the 90s? One of those might be this right here. This is a Dr. Doom figure, right? I love these Toy Biz toys, man. You guys remember those, right? I got the Hulk, the Thor. I'm still looking for an Iron Man. Got the Cap. Need a Dr. Octopus. Got the Venom. Got a few Spider-Mans, including the one with the suction cups. Oh my goodness, I love these toys when I was a kid, guys. Anyway, this one is neat because he has this like hand spinning motion, and there's from the Fantastic Four animated series, there's a Dr. Doom that has his hand pop out. And to me, it was just so absurd that why every Dr. Doom figure does something crazy with his hand. It doesn't make sense. Also, this one, the weapon that goes in his hand that spins is like loose in the package somewhere, or it's just completely missing. Yeah, it's just completely missing. Isn't that crazy? But I'm not going to open it. But I still want to get an open one. He just meaninglessly spins his arm. And I used to do these, me and my buddy Brooks, you know, Brooks from the movie review show every Monday. We got a new one coming out, the Justice League New Frontier. So me and Brooks used to make these crazy like videos with a high 8, you know, VHS camera and all that. And I used to do this like Fantastic Four show with my action figures, and Doom would always be like, "I'll stop you by meaninglessly twisting my arm." It's so silly, so silly, so silly. Scott Snyder deserves more credit than he gets. I'm collecting every sketch of Justice League. I am loving what Scott Snyder is doing on Justice League right now. I think it's one of the best comic books out there. It's in my top 3 right now. I look forward to it like crazy. There's a new issue this week. And it's going to be Joker-centric. That's awesome. Super excited for that. I love that book. Snyder is doing, to me, the best work of his career right now. He's only gotten better. That's how I feel. You know, I feel like the Weapon H thing has kind of fizzled out a little bit. But it would be cool to see when that happens, especially Immortal Hulk. Immortal Hulk's going to kill Weapon H, man. You know, let me tell you something. Comic guy, thank you for joining us. If you got the Annihilation Complete Collection Book 1, hats off to you. Hats off to you. Here. Right now, I can't get it back at my shop because it's out of print. It's in between printings right now. That is a fantastic series. Yes, you want to read the Nova series that came along with that. You definitely do. And you want to read the complete collections of Guardians of the Galaxy by Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning. Those 2 volumes are out right now. Get those if you can. Those are really, really good. Yes, Dwayne, I am super, super, super pumped about Dr. Doom in Fantastic Four #1, a return to not just villainy, but doomism, the true Victor that we know and love. I think Bendis did some great work with him, and I think what Slott is doing is a great organic evolution from that. By the way, that's the Monkey Nut can, guys. You always ask me what beer I'm drinking. It's Monkey Nut. But now the fall beers are showing up, so you'll see some different beers in the next few weeks. Collector's Corner in Baltimore. Is that where you go, buddy? I've never been there. I've never been to Baltimore. I got a buddy who lives in Baltimore who told me I need to go up there because I do want to go up there. I want to go to Camden Yards. It's a great ballpark that I want to visit. I visited 2 little ballparks in my life. I've only visited 2 professional ballparks, Kauffman Stadium and Turner Field. And now they have a different one, and I need to go see that one. So, yeah, I plan on going up to Baltimore. I'll check out that shop, man. I got a place to stay. Top 5 indie books, indie comics. Spoilers, number 1 is going to be Hellboy. I'm giving you guys so much inside information here. This is better than the early access patrons get on Patreon. I always get that wrong. You know, I didn't like the beef. Shirtless Bear Fighter, I stopped reading, but I want to go back and read the whole thing. Oh, top 5 X-Men episodes from the animated series. Oh, that's a great idea. X-Men animated episodes. That's a great idea. I do not have an easy number 1 right now. I have to reread some things. But seriously, Night of the Sentinels is badass, is it not? I think the majority of them might be from the first 2 seasons. Thank you, Comic Guy. I've had this shirt for years. I love Doom. And I love purple and green, my 2 favorite colors. Yeah, Denny O'Neil's Green Arrow and Green Lantern is fantastic comic book. Some of DC's best work. I agree. Fantastic. So any final questions? We're about to sign off here. I want to thank you guys, first of all, for joining us here on a Saturday night. I know we typically do these on Sunday night. Next week's not going to be on Sunday either. It's going to be on Monday next week. So not this Monday, but the Monday after that will be the next live stream. Yeah, top 5 comics from the 90s. We got that one already. Heck yeah, that's a good idea. Man, I love Morph from the animated series. I wish that they've never given us that Morph in the comic books. Never. Never. They've given us a couple versions of Morph, but never that version. I think right now, Batman Adventures number 12 is a better snag than X-Men 94. Though X-Men 94 is a big deal. Chris Claremont's first issue of X-Men. Fantastic stuff. He's a really good dude. I'm excited for him. He's doing the Magneto Black story. So that's going to be really, really neat. Really, really cool. So I want to once again point out our podcast to you guys. If you haven't checked out the podcast, I know a lot of you guys check out the weekly comic book review, and we really appreciate it. We do a whole lot more content on this channel and on our website at popculturephilosophers.com, including our podcasts on hiatus right now, so it's a good time to catch up. Go to popculturephilosophers.com. We're on iTunes or other podcast services. We're on a bunch of them. Just type in Pop Culture Philosophers, subscribe, and check them out. We have over 30 episodes. They're all over an hour. They're fun, mostly about movies, some about comic books. Me, Hammer Time Holshoe, Justified Justin Goldsmith, Dashing Drew Matson. You got Brooks and Jelani on some of those, Jeremy Day, Timothy Gorman. A bunch of cool cats that I consider my personal friends and associates. And you can interact with us over on Facebook if you want to, over at the PCP Army. It's a private group on Facebook. Send us a request. We'll add you. You can chat with us and other fans of this channel about pop culture, comic books, things like that. We have a lot of fun over there. We're also on Facebook, Pop Culture Philosophers. We're on Instagram. We don't do a lot on Instagram right now. Maybe I'll try to change that up. I'm on Twitter at the Rockin' Robbie. We are on Twitter at the PCP Show. So subscribe there, follow us, chat with us, let us know what's up. We really appreciate everything. Comic Guy says, I got a V X-Men comp and a Versus X-Men book. Now I need Axis to finish it off. I wouldn't spend money on Axis. Axis is bad. I would not spend money on Axis. That's just me personally. That's just me. Anyway, I appreciate you guys checking us out and supporting us and all that stuff. And once again, I got to mention, we want to get into a new studio to have more space to do the Movie Monday videos, the Comics Revisited videos, the podcast, have an office space and a studio to go to and do work at, things like that. We're trying to get there, hit a goal on Patreon. That's about to shift up and change a little bit. But on Patreon right now, you can unlock exclusive content, early access to videos like Movie Monday. You can get on there and unlock the PCP After Hours podcast, about 20 to 30 minutes long. Usually after each podcast, we keep the mics live and just talk. Just talk randomly. And that's available. All we want is $1 a month. And we can help eventually hit a goal so we can get a permanent office space and studio so we can do our work unencumbered, things like that. But we appreciate your support, liking, sharing, subscribing, all that jazz. Check us out at popculturephilosopher.com. PopculturePhilosophers.com. Top 5 favorite superhero suits. And even supervillain suits. I like that. Super suits. I'm just going to write that. Later on, I'll be like, super suits, what does that mean? Anyway, thank you guys for joining us on a Saturday night. Sorry for the switch up. Like I said, next week we won't be on Sunday either, but it won't be Saturday. It will be Monday. Monday night, 7 o'clock Central Time. So thank you guys so much. Check us out. Like I said, Rockin' Robbie Builds over at Facebook, at The Rockin' Robbie on Twitter, Patreon, our website, all that jazz. Thank you guys so much for rocking with us. Deuces. Have a good evening, guys. Enjoy your weekend. Holla.